Hello everybody, welcome to Smack the Markets Trading Room weekly market wrap for weekend in the 2nd of November. Now this week has been, it's been a complete reversal week, hasn't it? It started off with US dollar strength and ended with US dollar weakness. It started with Great British Pound weakness and ended with Great British Pound strength. And all this is down to a huge amount of sort of different news announcements, creating a huge amount of volatility. And of course, we ended up with non-farm payroll week as well. So this week, hasn't been one of our best weeks in the trading room. We've ended up taking about 5 trades and ended up about 2% up. So let's take a look at some of the trades here that we took in the trading room. So we started off with gold at the beginning of the week. This was a swing short trade. So the setup here was a break of this level here on the 4-hour time frame. What we were looking for was a continuation of the trend here on the weekly. We can see that the market has sort of pulled back into this sort of structure level that we have here, and we got a rejection off that. So that structure level is up here on the 4-hour, where you can see that the market's tested 3 times and failed each time. So we were looking at opportunities once the market broke this 1225 level here on the 4-hour. So the setup that we had was here on the 15-minute time frame. We waited for the break, captured the pullback. It was a straightforward moving average setup on a small candle, and as you can see, what happened is almost as soon as we got triggered into the trade, the market reversed around and we got stopped out of this position. Of course, a little bit later on, the market did roll over. It did break the level again, and it did continue in the direction that we expected. If we come and have a look at the next trade, the next one was Great British Pound against the US dollar. This was a swing short trade. This was because at the time the market was short. And if we take a look at the trend structure here or across the time frames, you can see that, there's some beautiful trends here on all of the Great British Pound pairs that were short at that period of time. We took a trade here on a break of the 127 level, which was a break of this consolidation here on the 4-hour time frame. The setup was here on the lower time frames, so the 30-minute time frame here. You can see this is the 127 level here. This is where the market sort of broke through. We got the pullback into the moving averages. That was the setup, and you can see that the market started to move in our favor at that point. Stopped just above the high, which was at 127. So this is how the trade actually played out. It actually played out to 2 targets. Once it came down to the second target down here, there was actually a support level here, and the market just sort of drifted sideways, at this sort of price point. The next trade that we took here was on US dollar against the yen. This one was a break of the 113 level. So there was a rather significant 113 level here on the market. On the lower time frames, we had also put in a nice long trend on these markets as well. And we were looking for for this move maybe to sort of like continue up towards sort of that 114 area. So it was just breaking into a new window of opportunity above price action. At the moment, what you can see is we had intraday timeframes that were all long. We took a straightforward moving average play here as the market pulled back into the moving averages, also pulled back into the 50% fib level, and sort of structure point here at 113 as well. So that was the trigger candle with the stop below the low. You can see the market gave us a 1-to-1 before it sort of reversed. The next trade was copper. This was an intraday trade short, so we were just looking for sort of a quick 1-to-1 on this trade, really. At the time, copper was, along with all of the metals, were in strong short moves. You can see this from the 4-hour time frame as well. The higher time frames here on the sort of daily had already broken key structure levels as well. So we're looking for sort of continuations of the trends here. But with copper, we don't really like to trade this, sort of get into this for a long time because of the sort of volatility of the moves. So we were looking for an intraday trade here on the break of this this 266 level here. On the lower time frame, we got a nice consolidation around this 266 level, as you can see. And the idea of the trade was just to take a break of this, stop above the high, and capture a 1% target. As you can see what sort of happened, it did break, it did continue, it got to about 50-60% of the way to the first target, but then it fairly quickly reversed around. Now what caused this reverse around here was the fact that the US dollar at this point had started to weaken, and as that continued to weaken, it put pressure on commodities, and the commodities turned around here. So the last trade that we took for the week here was Aussie Swiss. This was an intraday trade long. A lot of these markets were moving sort of like fairly swiftly on the Thursday. We had some nice sort of moves here on the intraday timeframes, but a lot of the moves that were created that day were against the major trend on higher timeframes. Aussie Swiss was one of the exceptions here. So, you know, we had a trend on the daily chart, and we had a sort of a pullback here on the weekly, and the intraday timeframes looked fairly neat. So the setup was here on the 15-minute time frame. We had a good trend structure. We actually had been stalking this market sort of pretty much all day, looking for pullbacks into the moving averages, looking for those entry points. We got our entry point here, where the market pulled back into the 72 level here. There was a pivot point around the stop area as well. We got a entry above the bullish candle, stop below the bearish candle, and you can see that later that evening the market moved on to sort of first target. Now I had set this for myself to actually close out at first target, so I'd taken first target on this, but in actual fact some of the people in the trading room held on to it for a bit longer, and they got about 3.5% reward to my sort of 1% reward. So for my returns for the week, this week I was up 2%, and that's because I was fairly conservative on the Aussie Swiss trade, but nevertheless some of the people in the trading room managed to sort of smash me completely this week and ended up 6 to 7% return. So well done those guys. So that's how we traded the week this week in the trading room. I certainly hope it helps, and look forward to speaking to you next time. Bye for now.